cling factor. Every door handle, if you touch the car door and you get shocked, it's all because it's so dry out there right now. And temperature-wise, you can see 39 at Jasper, 47 at Tuscaloosa, and also 46 down around Clinton, 47 at Rockford. Just some current conditions. But out the door tomorrow morning again, I do expect readings as low as 29 in Talladega, 30 around Gadsden, and 35 degrees around Tuscaloosa there. So some of us may be just above freezing, but some of us will be below freezing there early tomorrow morning. But we got that light freeze, some patchy frost out there for tonight. And then we got some weekend rainfall coming up Saturday. It looks like Saturday and into Sunday. That's the time frame where we're going to have to watch it there. Possibility of some showers. The one good thing, I'm not seeing severe weather, but be alert for that possibility of some rain. It looks like mostly light precipitation that's going to be setting in. A system that's moving across the Gulf of Mexico. But we'll be back to track it. We're going to take you through the 7-day. Go beyond the 7-day. We're looking ahead. We've got some ideas of what we could see around Christmas time. That's coming up in First Alert Weather Extra.
And though there's no denying that, baby, it's cold outside here in Alabama, up in North Carolina, there's been enough moisture there to produce snow. Check out this video from our sister station in North Carolina. This is at Appalachian Ski Mountain, where people can also enjoy skiing while admiring the views of their own winter wonderland. The same system that brought us severe storms over the weekend brought snow to North Carolina on Sunday. Well, back in Alabama, without any snow to enjoy, the freezing temperatures can admittedly be a pain, especially if you're trying to keep your home warm. This is why Governor Kay Ivey just announced more than $46 million to help low-income families cover home heating and cooling costs. The money is coming from a grant from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It will go toward 18 community agencies across the state, including several in our viewing area. If you need help, go to our website, WBRC.com, to see which location serves you. And an update tonight on the storm damage in our area. Mountain Brook police say that all roads in the city are now open, but your commute could still be impacted if you drive on Shades Creek Road. Crews are still finishing up clearing debris there, where lots of tree limbs are still down.
The severe storms this weekend were part of what we call quasi-linear convective system, QLCS for short. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but what does it mean? Well, meteorologist Matt Daniel breaks down the science behind a QLCS.
The storms we saw over the weekend, well, we saw a line of storms develop and they sort of moved through the state, and we sometimes call those lines squall lines, but the technical term is actually a QLCS. You may have heard us mention it. You may have read it online from random sources. What is a QLCS? Well, to give you an idea, it's a quasi-linear convective system, and this is sort of an example of what you may see on the radar. So here we go. This is a particular example, not necessarily what we saw over the weekend, but it's a family of storms that move as a line. Sometimes you'll see storms fire up. They are discrete storms, and eventually you'll get more moisture, more storms developing, and as they move from west to east, they sort of become more in a linear fashion. And so these storms can happen at any time of the year, but they're more dominant, especially during the winter and spring months, as we start seeing cold fronts and systems sweep into the south and east. And sometimes these systems can create bowing segments, which is usually results in damaging wind gusts. So we're going to show you different examples of what it looks like. For instance, if you look at here, right behind the main line where you see the green colors, right behind those yellows and oranges and reds, that's showing low reflectivity, which you would see on the radar, which usually means strong downdraft winds. And usually you can get some gusty winds behind the QLCS, but usually the main impacts are over as it pushes off towards the east. And then, of course, you got low reflectivity ahead of the line, as you can see in this particular example, and that's the updrafts of the storm. So normally, if you're ahead of the main line of storms, you're going to start seeing those winds really pick up. That's where you get the warm flow aloft, and that's where these the warm air, the humidity, kind of intensify these storms. So there's always a lot of wind energy with these systems. Of course, the question is, how unstable is the air? So If it's not that unstable, sometimes the threat's a little bit lower, but if you see a lot of unstable air plus a lot of wind energy, those ingredients combine together and you can get severe storms as well. One thing to note about a QLCS or a squall line is that although normally they produce heavy rain, maybe some hail and damaging winds, they can also spin up tornadoes. And normally the tornadoes that form are short-lived. But sometimes it can happen. So when we see these storms, sometimes they create a little bit of a spin, creates a tornado, and then sometimes it kind of just bows out or falls apart, so it doesn't last for long. So we always have to watch for that, and this past weekend was a great example of that. Most spots ended up with just rain and wind, but unfortunately we saw a couple of those spin-ups in around the Homewood area just south of Birmingham develop, and then of course sometimes these storms can bow out. Start seeing that bow, that usually indicates some very strong winds. And I remember Lauren was mentioning that as well late Saturday night and a Sunday of some bowing showing up on the radar, indicating some strong wind gusts up ahead of it. But overall, this is what that's called. You won't really hear us say it that much on TV. It's kind of wordy and long, but it's called a quasi-linear convective system, but it's short for a squall line. And we typically see these things in the winter and spring months. So when we see these things, take all warnings seriously. If it's a severe thunderstorm warning, treat it like it's a tornado warning, because these things can pack a punch, very similar to the damage you could see from a weak EF0 or EF1 tornado.
Thanks, Matt. In North Tennessee, a remarkable story of survival after a powerful tornado sent a baby flying through the air over the weekend. 150-mile-per-hour winds ripped Sydney Moore's mobile home from the ground during a tornado in Clarksville. She was inside her living room with her 4-month-old baby, 1-year-old son, and their father. Sydney held on to her oldest child as the trailer was violently thrown into the air. Her 4-month-old was still in his bassinet. The baby was thrown from the home, but miraculously, the couple found the baby alive.
He found him laying in a tree. Like somebody placed him in this tree. Like, I don't know how we survived.
The family say they're grateful they survived and say now they'll focus on rebuilding their home. But Sydney says she is unsure where they will live until then. Well, in 30 seconds, we check back in with the National Weather Service in Birmingham for a more detailed analysis of Saturday night storms.
Welcome back into First Alert Weather Extra. Chilly night out there as we check in on a couple locations. We'll see what we're looking like here to the north right now. Some of these colder areas like Gadsden, the temperatures dropping. I was seeing a few 30s on the map. Let's see here, 44 degrees showing up there. Just some plots showing 45 into parts of St. Clair County. You get back in around the Birmingham area. Right now to the north around Fultondale, temperature-wise. 48 over towards Fairfield, temperature 49. Let's get into West Alabama, checking out here as we plot some temperatures. Here's T-Town, and right now temperature right around Northport showing 52 degrees. Another chilly evening setting up. We'll have those lows tomorrow morning right around or just below freezing, and some frost again to start the day early tomorrow morning. But today, of course, a lot of the cleanup continues, and we continue to talk about the importance of those watches and warnings. We're going to be joined again by meteorologist a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, Gary Goggins, in Birmingham. You brought up a good point. You can have tornado-like winds with a severe thunderstorm. In fact, the other night we had several trees in homes and a lot of damage that was because of those straight line winds.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, especially where there was a highly populated area with a lot of trees. I know the Homewood area. My grandparents used to live right off Columbiana Road there in Homewood, and that area was actually significantly impacted. Lots of big trees in that area, and unfortunately, that when those trees come down, it can only take one tree to come on your house and cause significant damage. So that's why severe thunderstorm warnings need to be relayed essentially, and they need to be gathered in a nice way in terms of getting the warning to people. Make sure they have the right means to get it, Wes.
Right,
Especially
right.
if that's an app, if that's a weather radio, making sure they have that adequate way to receive it. I think a lot of people, a lot of comments that I've seen said that they weren't able to receive the warning, and so being able to get that through an app or other appropriate means on your phone, and also weather radio. Weather radio is it's a tried and true. It's
Yeah.
an old school method, but it works in terms of getting that warning out.
Well, that's another critical thing to talk about, Gary, because I'm afraid now, we've got all these social media platforms, and we've got from Facebook to Twitter to TikTok, and if you're sitting there looking at those platforms, if there is a tornado warning, you're not going to see something pop up via those platforms and say tornado warning. You've got to have a way to get those alerts, and you also have to be well informed on the weather around here as it changes so quickly.
Oh, absolutely. We post on social media as much as we can, but we have disclaimers on all of them that it's not a means of receiving life-saving information right when you need it at that moment. So definitely any way on your device that you can have something to notify you or alert you for severe thunderstorm warnings in particular, which is what we're talking about here. But also, I like bringing up weather radio again. I mean, this happened right around midnight, so a lot of people were in the bed asleep while this was going on. A weather radio will wake you up. It's almost like a smoke alarm, for the weather, and it'll wake you up. It will alert you, so that way you check your other means of information, so that you can take the shelter that you need to take. So yes, multiple ways to receive it outside of those social media platforms, like you mentioned.
Well, fortunately, we don't have any threat of severe storms in the forecast, at least for this week, but we did want to take you beyond the atmosphere to look at the Geminid meteor shower. So we've got a really great meteor shower that's going to be here the next couple of nights. The problem is there are going to be some of those high level clouds around, so maybe not the most optimum views in the world, but as we get past midnight tonight and midnight early Thursday morning, really even into early Friday morning as well, there's going to be a window from about midnight to 5 a.m. that you could potentially see some meteors. Now, the Geminids at their peak, you can see up to 120 per hour, but that involves the fact that you would have a clear sky and being away from city lights. So that's the key. You got to get away from city lights. If you are going to be viewing them, it is going to be pretty chilly. At least it's going to be dry, but temperatures at least in the 40s. Wouldn't be surprised if some spots are in the 30s after midnight. You can see that cloud cover here on First Alert AccuTrack that's been moving in. A lot of this is just some high level clouds. So it's those ice crystals lofted higher up in the atmosphere, but even that can put a little veil over the sky. But I mean, it's dry here. Other parts of the world, though, are seeing wet weather, like down in Puerto Rico, where our meteorologist Tania Michelle is on her honeymoon. You can see the rain moving in through the clouds in Puerto Rico. This is from Rodadero Peak. Tania is currently there on her honeymoon. And did you know this? Our newest meteorologist, Shenty Rodriguez, is from Puerto Rico, so she's been serving as Tania's makeshift travel agent. Proof that we're always on your side, even for each other. And coming up, we discuss the tricky forecasts ahead for the weekend, and then I'll take you beyond the 7-day right to Christmas Day. We'll be right back.
All right, time for a Weather Extra look at our forecast. And tonight, the temperatures out there will get close to freezing again in a lot of areas. It's already chilly. We're down to 39 at Coleman, 37 at Jasper to the south, Rockford, Clanton in the 40s, Talladega around 46. Good night for a warm cup of hot chocolate. Maybe get out there, ride around, look at some Christmas lights this evening. Winds out of the east. And tonight's lows, I mentioned near freezing, actually below freezing in some areas. You see Gadsden showing 28, 29 in Jasper. And earlier today, by the way, we did drop well below freezing, even had a few upper teens on the map. But tomorrow afternoon, we will see a nice warm up again. You can see some clouds mixing in. And watch out tomorrow morning again for that possibility of the meteor shower that we've been telling you about, the Geminid meteor shower. Hopefully we'll catch some breaks in the clouds looking up and sky watching early in the day. There's a look at our 6 p.m. forecast for Wednesday, and still dry. Another chilly night, but very seasonal and dry to close out the week. But how about the next chance for rain? Well, the model data is still showing a system moving across the Gulf of Mexico this weekend, and I've seen this play out so many times. Last week we were seeing a chance for rain around the 16th. A lot of the models were keeping it yesterday all to the south, and now we're starting to see it trend back north again, and there's a chance we'll probably get some clouds, some showers. We're going to be on the north side of this, so we're not going to get heavy rainfall, but just enough to where it could be kind of gloomy, drizzly, rainy at times. I think that would be most likely Saturday night into Sunday if we did see that, and then during the day Sunday. So Saturday we should have some nice breaks. I know we still have more Christmas parades. We got the Chelsea parade happening, so the weather should cooperate. But then watch out Saturday night and Sunday for the possibility of some rain, giving you that first alert as that system moves by. And it looks like a rather dynamic system. You can see it kind of wrapping up here as it moves across Alabama. And typically with something like this, temperatures actually go a little bit colder, so it wouldn't surprise me if we end up with a cloudy, chilly day with some showers on Sunday, and on top of that, some windy conditions Sunday night and into the day on Monday as that moves by. So that's the next big thing, that system Saturday and Sunday as far as rainfall. It seems like we're in this weekend pattern right now where we're dealing with showers, and then by Monday and Tuesday of next week, you can see we got dry weather coming back with temperatures topping out in the 50s, back to chilly afternoons and certainly some cold mornings on the way. But we first brought you this story yesterday from our weather visit to Vance. I had a chance to speak with one of the members of the Spice of Life Club, who specializes in making packages for victims of disasters and delivers them. She talks about what they've done for their community in the past when they've been hit by tornadoes, similar to the ones that happened in our area just a few days ago.
When we did have the tornado that came through that time, well, we was a station. We collected the goods. We was in charge of that, our group, and get volunteers to help us collect. At that time it was the Vance Civic Center. Now it's the Vance Library where we gathered there. And then we had some people carry the trucks down to the different other places of just whatever there's, the need there. But of course, if it happens around here or someplace, they could contact the town hall or the police or something. I don't know.
And it was so great seeing Miss Tingle. Had a great visit there yesterday. The group is for members ages 50 and above, and they meet once a month. For more information, you can visit their Facebook group or visit the Vance Town Hall, Vance in Tuscaloosa County. So now let's turn our attention to beyond the 7-day forecast. And Lauren, yesterday, we started talking about Christmas time and looking beyond the 7-day forecast, and it was looking like Christmas would be warm and dry. Well, this just shows you, when you're looking that far out, how quickly the forecast can change.
Yeah, that's why when you guys ask us, like, oh, well, what's it going to be like 2 weeks from now or a month from now? It's like, we can't say that with much certainty because things can and will change. Forecasts really more than 7 days out aren't super reliable. What we're doing here when we show you the first alert weather calendar and take you beyond the 7-day is give you an idea of trends. So the trends yesterday were saying warm and dry, and now the trends today are saying, well, it may actually be wet on Christmas. So we're going to keep a close eye on things. But hey, over the next several days, staying dry. As Wes was mentioning, though, we're watching for that. Give you that first alert. There could be some wet weather, at least towards the end of the weekend, and then looking pretty dry and quiet leading up to Christmas. It's just actual Christmas Day that we may have to give you that first alert for the possibility of some rain. But hey, it's not a guarantee. We're going to keep an eye on it. We we'd love to trend drier, but we still need some rain to get us out of the drought, right? But how about the temperature outlook heading towards Christmas? Of course, everyone wants to know, if there's going to be rain, would it be cold enough to snow? Hey, to break it to you, it looks like that temperature outlook 8 to 14 days from now is suggesting we could be seeing above average temperatures, not just here in Alabama, but across a good portion of the country. So you see here, this is looking at December 18th through 27th, showing temperatures at or slightly above average, and the same thing for those morning lows. So let's get a peek at the future cast here. First of all, showing near average precipitation over the next 8 to 14 days here in Alabama. So we mentioned leading up to Christmas, it looks pretty dry. A disturbance off of the East Coast. This is looking at Thursday, December 21st, but showing just a mix of sun and clouds across Alabama. We have been seeing the possibility that some cloud cover could increase, possibly some northwest flow taking over leading into the weekend before Christmas. And then we see, as we get closer to Christmas Eve, the possibility of a disturbance bringing some showers by Christmas Eve night, and then showing maybe a few lingering showers as we get into Christmas Day. Of course, this time of the year, if it does end up being warm, we want to keep an eye out too for any severe threat. Way too far out to see that. Just right now, know there could be a rain chance around Christmas. Well, right after the break, we'll be back with a final look at your forecast on First Alert Weather Extra. All right.
Well, it's here, Lauren. I mean, every night we got the chill, we got temperatures in the 50s, and it looks like next week, even after the weekend, we'll have another big drop in temperatures.
It does, and I know winter isn't officially here yet. The winter solstice is next week, but hey, it's meteorological winter and it's in full swing.
That's right, meteorological winter. We'll be talking more about that weekend rain chance. I'll see you back here tonight. Weather every 6 minutes, first at 9.